Hi guys, welcome back to another quick card pull. This is being filmed on Friday, March the 13th, 2026. Today we're pulling from the Astrology Answers traditional cards. We're starting off with the King of Wands, so this is following our intuition. So, in certain situations, or Spirit is showing in your mind's eye numbers. So, when I was getting ready to do, even right now, it's 333. So that's a number that's been standing out with me is 333. They're showing the Four of Wands. This is like celebrations, it looks like. So you may have a birthday coming up, Easter's coming up, Passover's coming up, the wrap up of Ramadan, Ash Wednesday, so Lent, celebrating. Those are a few weeks. So at Mother's Day in May. So there's different kinds of celebrations coming up. And I feel like this is where universe is like, honor your intuition, listen to what they're telling you. Like myself, like I'll write down, they'll give me a date. They recently gave me a postal code of an old area that I used to live in. We live in Canada, and it's where we used to walk, but no one really kind of, comes to mind with it. And I was showing my family, I'm like, do we know anyone in this area? And they're like, not that comes to mind, but you know what I mean? It's just, maybe they're trying to bring up someone, or kind of maybe a fond memory, because we used to go walk that path and then go down to the beach, the bluffs, walk there for like 45 minutes and then walk all the way back home. So just kind of, fond memories like that, or there's a deeper meaning to it that just hasn't come to our attention yet. They're showing you in this transition period that the universe has your back, because sometimes it's just like, when we're not sure where we're going or where we're headed, or we're worried about the future. So watch your future tripping with that. It is still retrograde. Also, the earth is shifting. So people have been saying, like, if you haven't been sleeping a lot this week, that's probably what it is that you're, feeling that shift, on a deeper level. So it's like we're shifting as well. So again, universe having your back, or maybe you felt like that. Oh, it has to do something, that we're connected to. But it's, honor yourself. If drink your water and take care of yourself. Take a nap if you need to, even if it's for a couple hours. If you end up napping for 5-6 hours, it's because you needed it. Things that are keeping you up at night, we were just talking about that. So like I was just like, oh my gosh, and then there was a situation came out, and then what I mean, it's just like, yeah, I could have been like, no, what I mean, but I was just like, it's not a big deal, what I mean. Thank God it was easy peasy lemon squeezy, what I mean. And it's just like, that's what I'm saying, like, still getting your projects done. Like with ourselves, we've had, some things happen, and it's just like, what I mean? Like I was telling the kids, I was like, it's going to take a couple of weeks, but, then it'll, kind of be like back to normal. And they're just like, okay, what I mean? It's just kind of going with the flow of things. Don't fight it. Like, when they talk about, we were talking about change and transformation yesterday with the death card, people, places, things. We're transitioning from that, because we're starting to head to somewhere new. You know what I mean? And it's just like the people, or the places, or the things that stood in your way, you know what I mean? Or try to hold you back, because we definitely, with that treasure cat, you get that kind of, cutting smile where it's just like, ooh, I'm getting one over you, or, you know what I mean? Like I'm purposely trying to make you feel how I feel. When you are not doing good, they love it. They're just like, oh, that makes me so happy. When you're doing great, they're just like, ugh, you know what I mean? That's where I'm saying that, like that little freaking smirk on their face, like, ugh, I love it. I love that you're suffering. It's just like, if you were a person of violence, you know what I mean? This is where it's being mindful, and I feel like where they're saying transition, or it's just like things keeping you up at night. You know what I mean? Remember they were talking about giving into like our shadow side, or devil side, like, maybe you're in a relationship and it's like, you're being pulled towards someone else, someone's trying to entice you, but it's just like the grass is only greener where you water it. So if you put that same energy you would put into this person, and you put that into your current loving relationship, it's like you would see where that grows. Dollars to donuts. You will sit there and regret stepping out. You will regret that move. All the time they'll say, my biggest regret in life was blah, 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 blah. We're getting to a certain age now. It's like, the person that we're with is like, they know your quirks. They know when you're quiet, it means X. You know what I mean? They know how you take your coffee or your tea. They know, to get you a blanket. You know what I mean? It's just like, if you're passed out on the couch, it's like, let's, the rest of you are like, let's go do something. Let them sleep. You know what I mean? Or let's, she was going to get this done, or they were going to get this done, and let's get it done so when they wake up, it's already done. That's why I'm saying be mindful in this transition period. People will rush in. You know what I mean? Try to fill in that void that you think that you have. And this is where some damage can happen. So it's like, if you're feeling vulnerable, watch who you're surrounding yourself with. If you're feeling vulnerable or you're feeling down, or just be mindful of decisions you're making or what you're doing, because it's avoidance behavior. You're trying to avoid the situation, but people will take opportunities to sit there and rush into your life so they can, kind of like they're saying like a criminal at night, sneak in, take what they need, and dash off before anyone's the wiser. And this is why I'm saying be mindful. With this fiery energy of the Lunar New Year, of the fiery horse, burning up emotions, evaporating emotions. So, living in Canada, North America, you do have a lot of that happening where the snow is leaving. We're transitioning into spring, renewal, rebirth. And that's why I'm saying be careful, because some people are just rushing into either you have a current relationship, or this is, we'll just cover that up. So, there's a lot there. But, that, like, you get that kind of temptation kind of vibe. You know what I mean? And I like the fire on the tree there, kind of blowing up the life, But I feel like maybe you're being open up to dating. But it's like, you need to move forward. Don't get dragged into someone. They're showing a garbage truck. You know what I mean? It's just like, there's nothing wrong with garbage trucks, but you know what I mean? It's like you put unwanted things in the garbage. You know what I mean? So it's just like, just because someone else's trash doesn't mean it's your treasure. It's just like I feel like you're making the move to move forward this year. This is what this whole year is about, is forward motion, grounding yourself in your emotions. So that's why I'm saying, because you feel vulnerable, and like they're saying, because you're tired, or there's something lack. So make sure you're not drinking or you're consuming too much sugar. So maybe instead of drinking your water, you're drinking Coke. They're showing a dark soda. So that's what I'm saying, like Coke Zero, Pepsi's, any of those things. It's just like, yeah, you can have a treat, but make sure if you have that you have your, a couple of glasses of water. So while you're sipping on that, take a couple of sips of water. So it dilutes it. So it's not as, all potent at once hitting you. So you're making sound decisions in current circumstances. They're saying not settling. Other opportunities are coming here. You have the Knight of Wands, a more sound or grounding kind of energy here. So, I'm definitely getting the Star kind of card, where it's like a time of peace, multiple blessings, a huge blessing, and then multiple ones. And it's like, be mindful of every single one. They're saying watching the pocketbook. So, you know what I mean? Like we're spending here and there, but also maybe they're like, this is what you asked for, right? You asked for financial blessings. So it's just like, at the same time, you know what I mean? It's just like, we know there's periods of time where it's just like, end of the month where those bigger bills are due and stuff like that. It's just like being mindful of that. There is this transition, what they're talking about. So maybe this is your relationship with money, where it's translating, where you don't have to, steady is what they're saying. You don't have to feel like it's scarce. So that's why I feel like it's just like, yeah, we want to buy the things, but it's just like being more mindful, making more mindful choices. Because sometimes we buy things and it's a temporary happiness. It's not forever, but it's just like with one purchase, it's like that was necessary. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, or two purchases, 4 purchases were necessary. You know what I mean? So there's the necessity, and then there's just buying it because it puts a smile on your face. If you're a collector, especially the Monster High world and stuff like that, it's just, you know what I mean? You end up putting it everywhere where you are. It's like, it always puts a smile on your face, especially when they're going into that like kind of Six of Swords energy, or what keeps you up at night. There's like certain things you can look at and just puts a smile on your face. I feel like it's just being mindful of surroundings, but it shows like 3 weeks time, like this, like they're saying stability. You do have the Nine of Pentacles. Some people see these as people stepping in here, like where I was saying like that. I don't know. I just feel like people are trying to make moves out of desperation. And it's just like, be mindful of that. And I feel like that's where the Hermit comes in. It's like, so you may have 3 different people coming in here in that way, you know what I mean? But it's like, ground yourself as you move forward. And it's just like, don't allow these temporary emotions of feeling isolated or feeling left out on the cold, kind of like a 5 of Pentacles. But it's not financial wise. You know what I mean? I feel like this person's just like grasping at straws, and they really don't need to be. It's just they feel vulnerable, they feel scared, they feel, you know what I mean? They feel a certain way, so then they want to project that onto you. So they're going to start trying to project. That's why I feel like with that Knight of Swords, you know, kind of energy is what someone's projecting. And I feel like this is where they're saying follow your intuition and see the actual truth of everything. They're showing a snake. So that's what I was saying. Be mindful. Is this actually truth? Or is this them trying to manipulate you because they feel a certain way, which they don't need to feel. You know what I mean? They'll get used to it. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's just, this is a type of narcissist manipulator that just likes to make everything a big deal than it is. I feel like this is going back into that 9 of Pentacles energy. I feel like this is already present. Maybe you are waiting 3 weeks time for something, but I feel like this is spirit being like, you know, you're already in this steady kind of stream of things where it's like, you know, charitable donations and stuff like that, and finding the balance in there again. So it's like, you know, they're saying like, you know how you felt vulnerable and everything like that when you go through those periods, and it's just like trying to rebuild your nest egg is what they're saying. So just be mindful of where you're spending and how you're spending it and who you're spending it on, you know, because I feel like there's exactly what they're saying here is keep it close to your chest. Not everybody needs to know what you're doing. You know, your money moves. They're playing like a Destiny's Child, you know, are you going to pay my bills? Are you going to pay my, you know what I mean? And it's just, I feel like that's where they're saying like someone's rushing in here trying to get you to pay their bills. You know, someone's trying to rush in here and be like, oh, maybe you got it like that. Or it's just like, well, you have money. Well, I want it. You know, they have no entitlement to it. They didn't work for it. They didn't add to it. They didn't contribute to it. You know what I mean? It's just, they want it. They don't care. You have it. I want it. So you're going to start seeing hints of this as well. We are heading into the waning crescent, which is heading towards the new moon. So, you know, with retrograde and everything going on and the transitioning of the world tilting and repositioning itself, I feel that's why I'm saying, like, keep more things to yourself. You know, even if you're feeling vulnerable sometimes, maybe like, you know, journaling or going for walks. They're showing clay work. So it's just like, be mindful of where you're putting your energy, who you're spending, you know, your time and energy and, you know, investing yourself. But I feel like this is just like, you know, be patient as this knowledge comes to you. Be present. They're showing March 20th. That's next week. That's where retrograde. But I feel like it's going to kind of hang over for 3 weeks because some people are jealous. They're like, you know, how come you're like this? Or how come this is going on? They're nosy. You know what I mean? When you live in a tight-knit community and it's just like, they're just nosy. And it's like, well, why do you keep to yourself? Why is, you know what I mean? Because they're trying to stir shit. They're just, you know what I mean? They're just drama. Monkey see, monkey do. If it happens over there, we're going to bring it over here. But that's not you anymore. You watch where you spend your time. You value your peace. Temperance is strength that has transitioned. This is, I can't remember the name of the deck. I got to pull from that one next. That one really teaches you deeply. Transformed to temperance. Usually this card, you'll see the traditional path leading to the sun. And they'll show daffodils growing. So, you know, again, you know, that awakening, you'll see a crown over their head, the angel's head. And it's like, because you've learned to balance, to go with the flow, or even trust, like, you know, in the higher self of who that is. So divine creator, Gaia, Mother Earth, universe, you know, whomever you believe in. And it's just like, because you're like, when you go through those periods where you don't have the answers, or you can't see, you know, ahead to the, where you're victorious, because sometimes it's, you know, sometimes it's seconds, minutes, days, weeks, and some people it's years. You know, like the Wheel of Fortune. Sometimes we have to sit still because we have to heal. We have to get our bearings, recalibrate. You know, universe is being kind to you, and it's just like, you don't have to figure it out in 2 seconds. Everybody thinks that we have to, because that's what we're taught. Go, go, go. Learn, learn, learn. Figure it out. Pressure, pressure, pressure. So we keep getting duality. The Two of Cups. You got the Boaz and Jehovah. The yin and yang, bringing back in balance. So it's just, you know, with the Six of Pentacles, with the Libra scales, or justice. So maybe that's where they're saying you're finding some justice when it comes to finances. You know, where it's just like people took advantage of situations. They're saying vulnerable. And that's why I'm saying, be careful. Don't say nothing. Nobody need to know nothing. They're not your accountant. They're not paying your bills. They are not, you know, they're not no part of that. You don't need to know. You don't need to know all those calculations. You didn't contribute to anything to it. Even if you did, it's none of your business. You know what I mean? It's just like, always got their hand out. Like Tony used to say, so you have a Virginia ham, but you're crying that you have no bread. Because they don't see the appreciation. Going back to the star card. Big blessings, and, you know, where people, it's like, it's a blessing, period. You know, people try to trivialize it. Oh, well, that would have happened because this would have happened, and you did this, so this would have happened. It's like, if you don't see that as a blessing, then that's on you. If you want to call it something else, that's on you. But that's why you live the certain life that you do. That's why you're always sad, miserable, depressed, or always complaining. Because you don't see the things that are happening in your life, and grateful for the things that are happening. Or you're not allowing the universe, divine creator, Gaia, Mother Earth, utilize you to help others. You know, going back to the Six of Pentacles. And I feel like, kind of like Leo Skeppy, he's like, I gave away so much money last year that, you know, he ended up hurting himself. And it's just like, just take it easy. You know, it's like, yes, be charitable, but, you know, make sure you take care of you, you know, but it's like being smart with it. And I feel like, you know, finding the balance with money, with the Two Pentacles at the feet, holding it close to our chest, or just like, you know, but I feel like mastery with, especially the Crown, you know, it's like, I'm learning from, you know, past mistakes. It's like that spell that Anastasia talks about, you know, lessons have been learned. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what they're saying. You've transitioned. So they're talking about the lack of sleep and everything like that. It's like you used to have a lack of sleep because of financial issues. But now, or worrying about the future financially. But, you know, they're saying you found the balance now. You know, maybe that's why they're saying justice. Because you found the balance now. Even if it's later in life, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes there's certain situations you did the best you could with the situation that you're at. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, they're singing Sheryl Crow. If it makes you happy, you know, you bought the thing, sunglasses or bags or whatever it was, and it's just like it made you happy, you know? It's just as you get older, you just spend it on different things, or you save it. But this could be, you know, we were talking about, like, you know, someone coming in, but I feel like that's why they're saying be patient. You know, all the people that are calling in love, and it's just like, yeah, there's, you know, some grounding people in, there's some, you know, people that will, you know, bring balance back into your life, but there are some clowns that will just rush in, don't care how it affects you or anyone else. They got what they needed from it, you know, but, you know, that deeper connection. Or it could be just a platonic friendship coming in here, you know. It's just like, you know, we fill each other's cup, we respect each other, we, you know, good friend, you know. Someone may be moving closer is what they're saying. You know, they're saying someone, maybe a friend moving closer to you. Maybe that's why they were showing me postal codes and stuff like that. But maybe they've, you know, unfortunately, I hope not, but, you know, maybe their whole family is making the transition. This is a friend of yours, and you end up hanging out and, you know, reconnecting again. It's like no time has passed. But the whole point of this is that it's leading to the sun. Like, sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it, you know, because we can't see what's coming ahead. You know, they're showing fog so thick that you can't see forward. But, you know, this is where you're having trust. They're showing, like, one time me and Shane were going to work. I was pregnant with Junior, and the storm was really bad. It took us till, like, we left early, too. We left at, like, 9. And we didn't get to work till, like, 1 o'clock. And, you know, our boss was like, you tried. Like, you're here. That's all that matters. You know, so we ended up working. It wasn't a full shift because we got there so late, but, you know, our boss was very understanding. We made the effort, and I was like, I don't know how you are doing this. And he's just like, he's like, I'm just paying attention to the road. I'm like, okay, whatever you need, just let me know. Like, I don't want to distract him or anything, but my trust was with him. You know, I'm like, he's a great driver. He knows what he's doing. He's very cautious, and he got us there. I'm like, all I could see is trees and snow. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm like, how do you even know where you're going? He goes, I just know. He just followed his internal compass. He just knew. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I feel like that's what they're saying. You're going to be the victor wearing the wreath, whatever the situation is here. Maybe it's sinusal depression. Maybe you find yourself sleeping a little bit more. It could be because you don't know what's coming forward. And it's like, you need the rest now because, you know, maybe this is you just having a great summer and you're outside a lot. And, you're under the shade and everything like that a little more. So maybe you're allergic to the sun or something. Or had a little scare. But, even if you're in the shade, wear your sunscreen. But, victor wearing the wreath. It may not look like that right now, but like the sunflowers surround this card. You see it on the crown and around. It's like you will be the victor wearing the wreath. The red, grounding yourself. The crimson red. It looks like healing's also taking place. So, you know what I mean? It's like moving forward. And it's not saying that, in our case where there's a loss, a significant loss, they're always a part of you. They're always going to be a part of you. They're still a part of your life. If you believe, that there's a transition, a temporary situation, you know what I mean? It's just like we're moving forward. We're all moving forward together. And we're excited. 21 may be significant. We're moving forward all together. Our wins are their wins. That's all you can do. Just keep pushing forward. Cherry blossoms may be significant. They're showing a cherry blossom tree. So I hope you enjoyed this quick card pull. Have a blessed weekend. May the universe bless you good.